Cullen goes live in 2 minutes. Lynn Cullen live in 1 minute. Welcome to Lynn Cullen Live at pghcitypaper.com. Email your questions and comments to Lynn at pghcitypaper.com.
Hey, hello there. Welcome. I'm a happy person. Great game last night. Wowie, wowie, zowie. I can't believe it. Playing for a Stanley Cup. And the problem is I could not go to sleep. I mean, I thought if they lost, I wouldn't be able to go to sleep. It turns out if they win, you can't go to sleep. You're too wound up. So I'm a little blurry. So this is our last show for 3 days. The Memorial Day weekend coming up. And stop and think of how amazing what I'm about to say would have seemed, I don't know, a year ago. We'll do a year. Donald Trump has clinched the Republican nomination. Really, seriously, let that sink in. This was, we all agreed, a joke, right? A joke. Guess who the joke's on? Oh, my God. Okay. So he's starting to lay out his energy policy. It's beyond belief. It's pull the U.S. out of every global warming accord that we've ever signed up on. Pull our money out of the UN that is earmarked for climate change. Just destroy every effort made by the Obama administration to move us away from fossil fuels. Well, it's something, huh? So I came upon a somewhat sobering piece about what we're living through right now, and I have noted on more than one occasion that we are not alone in what we are going through. Americans tend not to pay any attention to what's going on in other nations, but I have pointed out on more than one occasion that we are seeing these kind of nativistic, populist rebellions of sorts in Europe, in Asia, and certainly now in our country. And they are all coming from somewhat the same place, and it has to do with the triumph of capitalism. It does. It has to do with the globalized economy and what that has wrought on middle class people all over the world. Excuse me. Oh boy. So, as astonishing as Donald Trump's ascension has been, it has to be looked at in a broader global context and seen in some respects as a resistance to modernization brought on by liberal democracy, and also by the modernization of global economics. Throw in the technological aspect, and you have a global population of people who feel dislocated, frightened, and left behind. And a professor of economics at the London School of Economics. By the way, did Mick Jagger graduate from the London School of Economics? I believe he did. I just saw that and I thought, Mick Jagger. I mean, it doesn't seem like that would be, but I think it was. Just saying. So the guy from the London School of Economics, who is not Mick Jagger, said, we must keep in mind that we have seen these dynamics before. But that is a chilling statement, because the dynamics we are seeing now that we, citizens of the globe, have seen before, have resulted in world war. I hate to say it. Nativistic politics yield fascism, yield war. So we've got now a almost global backlash against globalization and the fear that it is prompting what some have called a zero-sum game. You know, you either build the walls, pull back, man the ramparts, or you agree to a decline in your quality of life. If our audio sounds a little weird, we're working on it. And let me just what's scarier, though, is the voters' clear choice to take a stand against thoughtfulness, against rationality, and instead to give themselves over to snake oil salesmen. But this is, again, something anyone who knows history, we have seen before. People in distress who will listen and trust in anyone who tells them that they have the answer, that put your trust in me, I promise. I'm going to take care of this. It's amazing how many otherwise rational people just give themselves over to that. The intellectuals have failed. Ain't nobody listening anymore. The intellectuals have failed. Reason has been found wanting. Facts have become irksome, pesky things that, in fact, don't need to be paid any attention. So you get somebody like Donald Trump who can say things that are absolutely false, who can make promises that are unkeepable, and yet millions of your fellow citizens need, for some reason, to believe it. We know that globalization put pressure on wages and jobs and the working class and the middle class, and that globalization has given more and more wealth to those who are already wealthy. Yes, it has raised the standard of living for the poorest of the poor in the world, but in doing so has brought down a whole bunch of others. There is a shrinking middle class globally in the industrialized world. It's not just us. It's Great Britain. It's Germany. It's Sweden. It's Austria. And it is a middle class that gives a country stability. It is a middle class that allows for democracy. Workers who feel themselves losing their place in the middle class are the most vulnerable of all to a Donald Trump, to somebody with a strong personality who's offering them a way out of their predicament. Now, the United States has not produced these kinds of autocratic, bombastic, populist leaders as much as European countries and Asian countries and African countries have. Leaders who tell the people, the beleaguered people, the angry people, that their problem is because of other people. And yet that is how Donald Trump made his way onto the stage. It is classic. It is dangerous. We know what it did in Germany. We know what it did in Italy. We know what this does. It leads to nothing good. So Hitler comes in and he blames the Jews and the trade unionists and the commies, and he's going to make it all better. Well, he didn't, did he? Trump comes in, bluster, all bluster, and he blames the immigrants. He blames, who else is he blaming these days? Muslims. He's got his people, and he turns that anger onto other people. This is dangerous. I say this is brought to you by the greed of capitalism. Because we would not have an angry populace if the capitalists at the top would share a little bit more. It's as simple as that. You don't need an economist to know which way the wind blows. You just need a brain in your head. And what we are looking at with the ascendancy of Donald Trump is obviously that now there is a huge percentage of the American populace who, for the first time on a national scale, are willing to take a chance with a bombastic, autocratic bigot who's promising them he'll fix things. Well, I see it no other way, and I think we're been here, done that, seen that. As I said, if you think I'm being, I don't know, dramatic, find a Holocaust survivor. There are not many of them left. Find one. And you ask them if they've seen this before. Hello, caller.
Hey, Lynn, it's Mike from D.C.
Hi.
So I figured out, I think anyway, that Donald Trump is going to make this like the World Wrestling Foundation or whatever that's called.
Yeah.
And that's why he wants to debate Bernie.
Right.
That's why he's
exactly
naming
right.
everybody with a nickname.
No, you're absolutely right. You know, he's in the World Wrestling Hall of Fame, Donald Trump. Did you know that?
But what I don't get is why aren't we throwing back at him? For example, there's a character on Game of Thrones called Littlefinger. We should be calling him Littlefingers. Because the character on Game of Thrones is like this manipulative, you don't know if he's good, you don't know if he's bad. So why aren't we assigning a nickname to the Donald and attacking him with it?
Well, I think it's because, who are we? I don't know.
I'm sorry, the Democratic Party. Hillary.
Okay. Well, Hillary, I don't think is going to.
All of them.
Okay, I don't think Hillary's going to do that because the problem with a Donald Trump is he's going to pull us all down into the muck.
Oh, Lynn, we're already there.
Yeah, but when we play his game, Hillary Clinton, just as Marco Rubio and Jeb Bush and all the others he's taken down with his nicknames and his,
none of them have assigned the Donald a nickname.
No, but Rubio tried to go after him. He's the one who brought up Little Hands. He's the one who started trying to attack him in the same way, and all it did was kill Rubio.
Did you hear what he said about? Did you hear what he said about Elizabeth Warren?
Who? Trump?
Trump.
Well, I know
he called her
Pocahontas.
A loud mouth.
A loud mouth. Yeah, sure.
What's that code for 60s feminism?
A loudmouth?
Yeah.
I don't know.
At least it rang my bell as the woman should be in the home and she should keep her mouth shut.
Oh, well,
and
sure.
Be barefoot and pregnant.
Well, okay, fine. Elizabeth Warren, he's calling Pocahontas, which is, frankly...
No, he's branded her loudmouth.
Okay,
now.
but he also calls her
Elizabeth
Pocahontas,
loudmouth.
which I think is funny. Sometimes he's funny. That's funny because Elizabeth Warren did claim Native American ethnicity on her application to Harvard or something when she's come on, maybe, her great aunt somewhere was 40% Apache. I don't know. But that name is based in some fact, and she opened herself up to that kind of ridicule. Every time he calls her Pocahontas, I just wince because there is some truth behind that belittling term. I don't know.
And again, it's the World Wrestling Foundation or whatever, the World Wrestling Association. He's trying to put the costume on the person so that when he goes into the ring with them, we'll all know who to boo.
That's right. You're absolutely right. It's
and
as simple as that.
so we're just making it easier on him by not branding him the bad guy.
It's hard, and I've been asking this question. What is the smart way to fight this guy? You stay above the fray, or do you get down in the mud? Or is there
we have proof he hates to be mocked.
Yes, that's true. But here's what I think. I don't think Hillary should be the main mocker. I think surrogates should take care of that. He is eminently mockable. So, I don't know. This is so unsettling. I can't believe it. And we now have, if he pulls off this Bernie Sanders debate, that is, if Sanders falls for this, God damn it. Excuse me.
Right, because he's going to it's the World Wrestling thing.
Well, it's not just that. I think Sanders will hold his own, actually, with Trump. It's not that. It's the damage that the whole thing will have on Hillary. And also the fact that it will elevate Bernie so that he takes California. He might take it anyway. He takes California, and the Democrats end up with a nominee who, crawls beaten into the convention. That's not helpful. Right now, Trump is wanting Sanders because it hurts Hillary.
Right. Which is why he's never called him the socialist Jew.
No, he hasn't said anything much.
Right.
Right.
It's why he says he's being robbed by the Democratic Party.
Right.
Why it's a rigged system.
Right.
And we're all just walking right into it and saying, here we are, let's wrestle.
Yeah.
Without fighting back.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I hope for the sake of our children and our children's children and the rest of the world that Americans somehow regain their sanity before November 3rd or whatever the hell the election
Well, have a good long weekend. Are you is there a show on Monday?
No.
Well, do something fun.
I will. Thank you.
Okay.
You too.
Have a good day.
Bye. I mean, you have Trump. What did he do the other day? He brings up, I can't believe it. Vince Foster. He says, he brings up that Vince Foster maybe was murdered by the Clintons because he knew too much about Whitewater, which is, I don't know that you mock somebody who is that despicable. I don't know. How do you deal with somebody that despicable? Vince Foster's sister writes a op-ed to the Washington Post. She's so freaked. She says of Trump, it is beyond contempt to do what he has done. To use a dead man, a family tragedy, for his political gain. And then when Trump is asked about it later, he says, well, I don't really know anything about Vince Foster. I just, I heard that he knew everything that was going on, and then all of a sudden he commits suicide. Wow. 5 investigations, all prompted, of course, by Republicans spreading conspiracy theories, were launched after Foster's suicide in the early years of, it was the first year, I believe, of the Clinton presidency. excuse me. Oh, God. Kenneth Starr, in fact, did one of the investigations. And every investigation found that he had committed suicide because of severe depression. This is what we're going to have. The Republicans are going to, well, they already have essentially, are going to nominate and put before the American people a clown, a liar, a totally unprepared person for the job that he is seeking. This takes McCain's choosing Sarah Palin and makes it look like some, ingenious move. The fact that Republicans are falling in line behind this despicable liar is proof positive that their party is, whether they know it or not, dead. Headline, today's New York Times, GOP defeats its own bill over gay rights. Yeah, it was a spending bill. It was their bill. They had drawn it up, spending bill for water projects and some other things, energy. And then somehow something got stuck on it, an amendment. This is how it happens in our system. That any federal contractors working on the projects that are being funded could not discriminate against gays and lesbians. That was enough for the Republicans to overwhelmingly refuse to vote for the bill. Think about that. Think about that. They voted down their own bill because it included in it a provision that any of these taxpayer-funded projects could not hire contractors who discriminated against gays, who, by the way, are taxpayers. It is saying that we will not give taxpayer money to people who discriminate against the very people who are helping to fund the damn project. Republicans take a stand always for the most absurd things and consequently fail to do the only job really that the House of Representatives has, which is funding bills. That's what their main job is, funding, to fund things. They don't do it anymore. And Paul Ryan, the new Speaker of the House, is no more able to control these lunatics than Boehner was. They voted down their own bill because, God forbid, it might have kept a bigot from getting some of your tax dollars. And then they went home to enjoy the Memorial Day weekend. There's about 12 more appropriation measures that the House is supposed to pass this year. It is quite possible it will not pass any of them for the same reasons. And as it says, that is its most basic function. If you'll recall, last year, the same appropriations measures went nowhere because of something having to do with the Confederate flag. These are your Republicans the party that's dead and doesn't even know it. Also, the House stirred itself before it went on recess to officially begin talking about maybe funding the fight against the Zika virus. Which is to say, they did really nothing. And they went on recess. No progress made. But hey, a whole bunch of Americans think this is the party that's going to save them. This is the party. God. Okay, I got a sort of cute story here. It's not cute because it ends sort of sadly, but excuse me. There's an elephant in Korea. Have you heard about this sweet soul? He's 26 years old, a male elephant. He's been kept in a zoo in South Korea. And he speaks. He speaks intelligible words to his keepers. He speaks, of course, in Korean. As far as anyone knows, this is the first elephant who has been shown to be able to speak. Doesn't have a big vocabulary. He knows about 5 words in Korean, but he uses them in the proper way. They're the words that his keepers have used on him, and he has learned to repeat them. So this elephant can say hello. This elephant can say no. This elephant can say good. Lie down. Sit. How the hell can it do it? It figured out a way all by itself. It rolls up its trunk and puts the trunk inside its mouth and uses it like a tongue to modulate sounds coming out of his mouth. It's like when we put fingers in our mouth to whistle or to do something. This elephant does that. He does it in such detail, it says here, that Korean speakers can readily understand what the elephant is saying. It's not like, hey, did you hear my dog? He said, I love you. No, he didn't. But that is not what's going on here. The elephant is actually producing the sounds that he has heard. But here is why, if you can detect some sadness in my voice. They think that the reason this elephant has figured out how to do this is because he's lonely. There's no other elephant with him. Damn it, why don't they get him an elephant? There's no other elephant. He has been without one of his own kind for 21 years. At the age of 5, he was removed from other elephants. And researchers who have studied him, looked at him, said that they have little doubt that he needed so to communicate that he figured out how to communicate in the language of, frankly, his captors. Right? It breaks your heart. Oh, but animals have no souls. Jesus. Mike from D.C., you're not going to like this, Celine. I'm listening now to our conversation, and I'm sorry for talking over you and your prompt. Your voice sounded very faint, and I only heard every other word. This is the second time this has happened. Yeah, we got trouble here, guys, and you know what? I mean, part of this, I'm just going to be totally clear here. I believe in honesty. I have often made fun of the equipment here. This is some really seriously crap equipment that was jerry-rigged together when the show began. And it has been, as I've said, held together by chewing gum and string ever since. It's coming apart at the seams, but what adds more difficulty here is that when City Paper was sold, as it was about, what, was that now 2 months ago? 2 months ago. The people who sold City Paper are called Steel City Media. Steel City Media not only own Pittsburgh City Paper, but they own radio stations. And so, City Paper is on one floor of this building, and these radio stations that Steel City Media owns are on another. I'm in the radio part, which is I'm on Steel City's turf, but they no longer own City Paper, which Celine works for, and I contract with. The current owners of City Paper absolutely know zero about radio studios and equipment. So while we had access to an radio engineer when Steel City Media owned City Paper, we do not anymore. And we're in trouble here. I don't know exactly. Obviously, Steel City Media agreed to allow me to keep using this crap facility. But we aren't sure where we're supposed to turn. And the new ownership of the papers got bigger fish to fry right now, trying to get the paper in whatever its vision of the paper is, because that's what they bought. They bought the paper. So we got a problem, and I don't quite know what to do about it. I mean, Celine has put a bug in all the right people's ears, but I don't know. I'm close to despair. I don't know what to do. Well, this is a bitch. You can't have a show if people can't friggin' hear you. If you can't take a call. If you get a guest on and they can't hear you and your listeners can't hear them, and then when I come, you can't have a show. That's bullshit. That's like kids playing having a show. So I don't know what I'm supposed to do about it. I'm sorry. If any of you have any bright ideas, let me know. Another question about Jeopardy. Thank you, little Tony. Man, anything to get us off all this misery. Lynn, what do you think of the latest Jeopardy contestant winner? This guy, I'm not even reading the rest of your thing because I don't know what you're going to say. But this guy has won now, I think, 2 weeks in a row. He's closing in on $200,000 in winnings. He is the biggest jerk in the universe. I mean, okay, so what do you say about him? I, for one, am waiting for the guy to lose, yes. He wins because he doesn't bet anything in the final round. I think the guy's a jerk. I love the show. Yeah. No, he doesn't win because he doesn't bet anything in the final round. When he doesn't bet anything, I mean, that's a smart bet. He's doesn't have to bet. He's already killed everybody off in the early rounds. He's smart as heck. But there's something about him. You want to punch him in the nose. I know, you do. He's just, and his name, Buzzy. The first show he was on, he was wearing, the first win he had, the first show he was on, he was wearing a bow tie, and he was in the center, at the center podium. And my son happened to walk in. And he took one look at him and hated him on sight. He made some remark about, God, what a nerd, what a this, that, and the other thing. And I said, well, he's really very bright and blah, blah, blah. He hadn't annoyed me yet. And, oh, my God. I think Alex Trebek, the host, hates his guts, too. But what can you do? The guy just keeps on winning. It must be tough for a show when the reigning champion who can't get dislodged is an asshole that nobody likes. Because everybody is desperate for him. And instead of, never mind. But I agree with you totally, little Tony. He's a total jerk, man. Jeez. Oh, yeah. So do you watch John Oliver? Do you watch, what's the name of the show? What's John Oliver's show called? Last week. I'm thinking about a show so old, That Was the Week That Was. Anybody remember that? That's from the 70s. Last Week Now or something, or Now Last Week, or what the hell's his show called? Last Week Tonight. Okay, Last Week Tonight. It's on Sunday nights, and he does a half hour picking up stuff from the news. But mostly what John Oliver does, he's a Brit, is educate. He's a teacher by you can tell, by nature. He really wants people to understand things. So he goes after, the news gives him fodder to go after something. The last one, he just eviscerated, which, I mean, believe me, shooting fish in a barrel, the American political system and its way of anointing the nominees for president. In other words, the primary process. He took it apart. I mean, he talked about, the system is rigged. Well, let's look at this system. It turns out there's no system at all. So he's very, very smart about all this stuff. But then he went after he got done eviscerating the primary system, he goes after, talk about an autocratic Trump-like figure who already runs a country. He goes after the head of of Chechnya. It's not a country, it's a republic. Well, that is a country. Is Chechnya a standalone country, right? Or is it part of the Soviet, it's part of Russia now? Huh? Who the hell knows anymore? But this head of Chechnya is a guy named Kadyrov. And he is a Putin-esque, Trump-esque, scary guy. You don't want to be on his bad side. You disappear, right? He's so in love with Putin that so Oliver's making fun of him because he's always wearing T-shirts with Putin's face on them. He's got 5,000 T-shirts. They're all different with Putin in different poses, Putin's face on them. Well, Oliver says that this terrifying head of Chechnya is absolutely freaked because his pet cat has gone missing. And this is no ordinary cat. This cat looks like about a 2-month-old tiger, and it's a special breed that is tiger-like. And there's pictures of this big nasty killer strongman, cradling his little bit, and the cat is gone, and he has actually put the entire republic on alert to look for his cat. And anyone who sees the cat is to contact the government immediately. So John Oliver, of course, says, you don't want this guy feeling anxious, because when he feels anxious, terrible things happen. So let's help him find his cat. Keep your eyes open for the guy's cat, which, of course, ain't going to be here. But even if you don't find the cat, John Oliver says, you could send him a message and tell him, I am looking, but I still have not found your cat. Or you can send him a message with a picture of a cat saying, I found this cat. Is this your cat? And I'm thinking, I can't believe he's doing this, because you know how many people then would be flooding this scary Chechen Republic leader's inbox, mocking his lost cat. Unbelievably. I'm watching that. I'm thinking, hey, John Oliver's going to get, targeted by, Putin doesn't take anybody mocking him, and this is Putin's pal. I'm thinking, Oliver, you don't want to screw with these guys. I wouldn't. Don't screw with those guys. Do not. Unbelievably, the head of Chechnya, because he got deluged with this stuff, responded to John Oliver. And here is the response. I am tired of jokes. I want to care for cats in Chechnya. By the way, Putin is our leader. Millions of people rejoice T-shirts with the image of the national leader. Thanks to Putin, we have crushed terrorists, among whom there were also citizens of the USA. The country directed by Obama under the guise of peacekeeping operations spark new wars and bloody internal conflicts in which die millions of people. Okay, so now you have Chechen leaders actually responding to British American comics. The world has gone mad. Henri writes, Lynn, I would suggest to everyone to vote the platform, not the person. I know that's easy to say, but do you really want to go back to the Bush administration by voting for Trump? Oh, you aren't going back to the Bush administration by voting for Trump. Henry, you're going to a much darker place. You are going to a place where the Bush administration seems like nirvana. But I agree with you. Forget the personalities. Forget the fact that Hillary Clinton drives you crazy, which she does me. Let's not forget what happens when you put these Republicans in power. Yeah. Okay. Margie says she's done with politics. Well, easy for you to say, Margie, but I don't blame you. But I traffic in it. Did you see that Louisiana has passed a new measure that adds to their hate crime legislation? And now it is there's a special penalty for in any way harming people because of their race, ethnicity, sex, religion, sexual orientation, and now they've added, and if they are a law enforcement officer. Which I have to tell you is bizarre. This is that new, you'll start hearing a lot more about it. This is the response to Black Lives Matter. Republican legislatures all over the place, and the Republican Congress apparently has a similar bill. They think the Black Lives Matter movement is simply about killing cops. Yeah, well, no. And now there's a big Blue Lives Matter. It's happening. Here's the problem. The whole idea of a hate crime bill is to protect people who are vulnerable because they belong to a group that has historically been discriminated against or put upon or killed or harmed or assaulted. And I don't think you can say that about police officers and EMTs who are also covered in this bill. But you will say, if you've been listening to Fox News, and for that matter, reading newspapers, and for that matter, watching CNN, but you will say, since Black Lives Matter, there has been an uptick in violence against police officers. I mean, just look, the other day, some police officers were killed. And police officers do get killed in the line of duty. It is dangerous work. Now, can I give you some facts? I know that they're not real popular right now, but can I give you some facts? Because these facts blew my socks off. Because I really felt there was an uptick in violence against police in the last few years. Didn't you? Guess what? It's quite the opposite. I'm going to give you figures that come from the FBI, okay? The FBI tracks and has tracked how many law enforcement officers are killed in the line of duty. I'll tell you when they were getting killed in the line of duty. The 1970s. The number of cops being killed in the line of duty now in the last few years, and definitely since the Black Lives Matter movement was born, is less than half of the death toll in the 70s. Less than half. There's no uptick. In fact, it's the opposite. In 2015, last year, 41 police officers on duty were killed. That is the second lowest figure in 60 years. 60 years. And yet, fact-free zones called Republican legislatures have seen fit to pollute hate crime legislation by adding police officers to it as if there was some kind of an outbreak of crazed cop killing going on. And it isn't true. So far this year, 20 officers have been killed in the line of duty, which puts this year on, it's at the pace that would make this year also one of the least deadly years on record to be a police officer. Imagine that. The Black Lives Matter movement coexisting with some of the least deadly years to be a police officer. Those are the facts. For all the good that does. Okay. I'll tell you, you want to be scared? There is something in the news that does scare me. And it ain't ISIS. And this thing's been scaring me for a long time. And I've railed about it in the past, but now it's coming to a head. And that is the antibiotic-resistant superbugs. They're here. For all you folks who think every time you got a little sore throat, you got a little bug, whatever, you just run to your friendly doctor and you get a Z-Pack? Is that what they're called? You get a Z-Pack. I'm going to get me a Z-Pack and give me a Z-Pack. I have a friend who must do Z-Packs 20 times a year. I don't know. And every time I hear him say that he's taking antibiotics, I say, you're killing everybody. Jesus. I have to be near death to agree to take an antibiotic. But the rest of you ain't holding up your end. And now it's too late. So now the first person in the United States happens to be right here in Pennsylvania to be infected with the bacteria we've been scared to death of coming over here. She's got it. We have nothing to fight these. Nothing. So here's the head of the CDC. We are at great risk that we are in a post-antibiotic world. So that wouldn't just be urinary tract infections or pneumonia. That could mean no antibiotics that work for the 600,000 patients a year who need cancer treatment, for people for whom it is life-saving. And what I was thinking, my contempt for the health care establishment in this country, and my fear of it. My fear of it is here again. We see how your friendly pharmacist in cahoots with Big Pharma, in cahoots with your friendly doctor, have brought on this horrible, horrible opioid crisis in this country. Because they were making heroin addicts out of. All you had to do is get a little orthopedic surgery, maybe even some dental surgery. It doesn't matter. Here, have 60 OxyContin pills. Get hooked. And we'll keep giving them to you until all of a sudden we figure we can't. And then you'll do heroin, and then you'll die. How come I knew years and years ago that these opioids were extraordinarily dangerous? And if I were a doctor, I wouldn't give them to people unless there was absolute need. But all those doctors out there still writing them. They're still writing these damn prescriptions. And now they wrote all those antibiotic prescriptions when they knew that the person sitting across from them didn't need it. It was probably something viral, some little bug. But they don't want to be bothered. But, we now, patients come in and we say, I need this, I need that. And the public health be damned. Drives me nuts. Dorothea says, Memorial Day is upon us, and I'd like to remind everyone to take a moment. What? To go buy a mattress? To eat a hot dog? No? Dorothea, what are you going to tell us? Yeah, take a moment to remember the people who died in this country's wars. As you sit down with your family, she says, to enjoy the beer and the burgers, please remember those who are missing from the dinner table. And I think that's it for me. I'm going to leave it there. So, guys, have a great holiday weekend, and I do hope, take some time to engage in some thoughtfulness. And I'm sorry if I'm adding to your depression. I just don't know what else to do right now. I'm really feeling like this country is at a terrifying crossroads. And I can't pretend that we're not. So, have a good one. Be careful. And my gosh, I'll be back on Tuesday, and we'll already be in the Stanley Cup playoffs Monday night. So, go Pens! Toodaloo.
Lynn Cullen Live, Monday through Friday from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. and archived at pghcitypaper.com. The opinions expressed on Lynn Cullen Live are those of the host and do not necessarily reflect the viewpoints of Pittsburgh City Paper, Steel City Media, and its advertisers.